Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the Controversies with the Truth, God, and Justice Chick podcast. This is your host, Saskia Chick, and I welcome you guys here for another controversial episode. This is, though, a little bit more. This one, I want to talk about something that is kind of, I had to think about quite a bit today and yesterday and the other days. I don't know if it's really controversial. It's not like a topic like my last one about President Trump. This one is more about, being our own worst critic and insecurities, self-criticalness, self-sabotage, and all the above, because that's something that doesn't get talked about that much, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't get the time of day, which is pretty important too. So once in a while I like to throw in an episode like that where I just talk about the big elephant in the room, and maybe give at least one person some little pep talk or little, I don't know, advice maybe. I'm no expert, but I get taught by my mentor, who's Bishop Larry Gators. He's on YouTube as well under Global Spiritual Revolution Radio, or Global Spiritual Movement, something like that. Anyway, he has great insight and great wisdom to give. So anyway, today I'd like to just discuss a little bit, what it's like when you start something new, whether it be a podcast or business or anything that doesn't grow or doesn't exist in your comfort zone. So you get out of your comfort zone, you go after your goals, your dreams, whatever it may be. And it's so scary, right? And then once we start something like that, we just get self-critical, or as I like to call it, the enemy is trying to make you stop from pursuing, your destiny or your calling or whatever it may be, or your business from prospering, or anything it may be, because it seems to be almost a pattern. Maybe it's just for myself, maybe it doesn't happen to some people, but to me, I get excited about starting something, whatever it may be. In the past, a few years back, I tried to start a online boy clothes boutique, or baby stuff, those like baby children apparel boutique, because I always had a passion for that kind of stuff since I was little. And I put in all the hours, the work, but I get to a point usually when it's just about to get published or launch whatever you're trying to work on, and then you get all this negativity, this negative thinking overwhelms you. The enemy is putting his foot in the door, and he's telling you, you can't. What are you thinking? How are you supposed to do this? You don't have enough time. You don't have enough money to invest. You can't be successful. What are you thinking? Be realistic, he tells you. And what do? I mean, some who are smart, or I don't know if smart's the right word, just, some who are wise, or, they push them to the side and the negative thoughts, and you just continue. That's what you're supposed to do, right? And I didn't do that. And a lot of times I didn't do that. I let him, I guess, win, or the negative thoughts, the way I was thinking, the negative thinking, I let it win in a way. And I just stopped, because as a mother of 2 little kids, and you barely have enough time for, anything, how is it realistic? And I was always, I still am, but I tried to change my way of thinking. But I was always a big realist, meaning if something doesn't seem like it's possible, what do? You stop it, right? You don't do that. It's not realistic. But guess what? It also doesn't bring you success, or it doesn't make you succeed in whatever you're trying to accomplish. That type of thinking doesn't get you anywhere, because it limits you. It limits your success. It limits your everything, really. So, what do? How do you change it? You change the way you think. And I'm in the process of doing that. So I'm very transparent. I'm very honest. And, just as a side note, this might sound more like a journal entry. But I'm just trying to, my goal is always to help at least one person, maybe one person, feels like I'm speaking to him or her, or, to them meaning multiple people. So how do we change the way we think? By the way, as a little side saying, your altitude is determined by your attitude. Very important to remember. You can only fly so high or get so far if you have the right attitude about it. If you're being such a realist like me, like I like to say was, then you'll never have enough resources or time or, strength or endurance to, invest in whatever you're trying to do or open or, start. So it's very important to stop the negative thinking. It's easy to say that, right? Because most people know that. But it's more, I would say, complex than that. I constantly still think that way, and I have to say, no, stop, Saskia. You can't think like that, because it limits you. It stops. It deactivates, the blessings you're about to receive. Or that's how I think anyway. And, what do? You pray first and foremost. You pray for what you want. You want to have a successful podcast? You pray about it. I pray and I work for it. I try to put in as much time as I can. I try to, limit the realistic thoughts, which are more negative thoughts than realistic thoughts. And yeah, you do it. You just work, no matter how silly it looks or sounds like what you're trying to accomplish. You start like on the bottom and you work your way up, right? That's how it is with everything. You don't start like already having so many followers or of course for some people it happens quick. It happens quick. Mostly people that are already, public figures or stars or whatever, or celebrities, they already have this recognition, or, they have it harder in other ways than that. They might not have a super hard time starting up a company or, social media account or whatever it may be. But for the average, normal, everyday person, you have to have the patience. And that's another thing where I'm like giving myself a pep talk as I speak, because I'm not a very patient person. That has other, reasons why. That's another topic for another day. But it's, you have to stop self-sabotaging. And that is, that happens when we say, there's no way. Like right now, sometimes I feel I have my thoughts, I'm still in the beginning of my podcasting journey, right? And I feel like, I'm actually putting in the work, right? And then you get like thoughts where you think like, you're kind of making a fool out of yourself. Why are you investing so much time into something that is no guaranteed success? And that's another thing. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself or about myself. Hopefully not. But when you don't feel like you have a guaranteed success, especially as a mom or someone with very limited time, it can be something that'll, make you stop in your tracks and stop the whole process. And that's also part of this attitude, that you can't afford to have. So this is a little pep talk for maybe you have some goals, some dreams that you want to work for, because you only have this one life, right? This one life on earth. And if you try and you work your hardest and you try your hardest and you pray, then that's, usually a recipe for success. It might not take in the time frame you want it to happen. That's a big point to make. It might not happen when you want it to happen. And that's what another reminder that I have to give myself. Everything that I'm saying to you or to my camera is what I'm saying to myself pretty much every day. Because it's easy to lose that mindset, especially when it doesn't come natural to you to think positive. It's so important. Positivity will get you way further than, pessimistic thoughts will ever do. And it takes practice and time to, change the way you think. So every time you think negatively, you say stop, whatever you name this. I say stop, Saskia. You can't think like that. Cut it out. Give myself a little harsh pep talk. I have to change the way you think. And one of my favorite sayings, somewhat new sayings, wait a second, I just need to take a sip because we aren't, this is real life. Yes, had to take a sip. One of my favorite quotes now from Bishop Larry Gators is the quote, "If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done." And that speaks volumes, right? That speaks absolute truth, 100%. I mean, you can expect, like, if I give you an example, I would think of like something that sounds silly maybe, but I'm just gonna go for it. So for example, your mother, you're busy all day taking care of your kids and the house and everyone, and at night, what I usually do after the kids are in bed, after you do like the most important chores or the most, what you have to do, you like to relax, right? It's the only time of day where you really get to sit down on the couch and watch a movie, watch TV. But then you remember as soon as you sit, I want to, but I really have to, or vice versa. work on my business, my brand now. I have this baby now to take care of. And like today, I'm fortunate, I'm blessed that I have time throughout the day to record and, but oftentimes it's at night that I only have time for it. And I absolutely dislike working at night, whatever it may be, because you just don't have that same focus or, concentration. Like, you're just tired. You don't want to do important work at night, but you don't have a choice, right? So you have to do something you usually don't do if you want something you don't have at the moment, right? And this might be just second nature, it might not be a big deal to you. You might be like, oh, I do that. It's normal. Not for me. I mean, when you've always lived like that for years, as a mother and stuff, it's just, for some people they might even prefer the nighttime because you have, time, and that's, yeah, it's true. It's just not the same as daytime. You don't have the same energy left or the same focus, like I said. And so, yeah, it's, that's a little pep talk for you. A little reminder to, just stop the way you think, stop in your track, change the way you think. Start praying if you haven't yet. Ask God for what you want. You have not because you haven't asked God. That's pretty much how it goes. The saying or the verse. You have not because you ask not. And you'd be surprised, if you just change the way you think and you just start, change just some simple things, really, but important things. And you can, you can go far. You can go really far. And I'm excited to see if it's really going to pay off. But no, I can't be saying that. I have to actually say it will. It will. Talk like you already have it, or, and yeah, so that's a little pep talk episode, or a little deep in my thoughts episode, because it's, no one really talks about that. Like, all the struggles too that you're dealing with, not just with the fear or the fear of failure, but, the changes you have to make in yourself too, and the extra hours you put into your business or whatever you're trying to accomplish. It's so important to, also talk about, for me, it's so important to also talk about these little things that make a big difference. And it's easy to forget, it might be a given to some, it might be nothing new, but to some, there might be one person that's been just really down because they want to try to go for something, but they just, this is your reminder, this is your little push, to just go for it. We only have this one life, and, that's life. That's life. So I hope this was of some interest or help in your own life, and I hope you'll remember to remember the way you think determines pretty much your altitude. And yeah, that's my little advice for the day, a little wisdom on this fine Friday. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, you can find me on Instagram at Truth, God, and Justice Chick, on Twitter and Truth Social, and on my website, www.truthgodandjusticechick.com. And we'll see you next time for a brand new episode.